everybody in their life, if you live, you know, and you haven't had a heavy psychedelic experience and you haven't gone in an isolation tank, you've missed out. You've missed out on a huge chunk of what life really is. Life is a massive fucking mystery, and there's only a few different ways to really crack below the surface of that mystery, and the best way is psychedelics. And the heavier the psychedelic, the better. Yeah, it's called dimethyltryptamine. It's produced by your pineal gland. It's actually a gland that's in the center of your brain. It's the craziest drug ever. It's the most potent psychedelic known to man. Literally, but the craziest thing is about it is it's natural, and your brain produces it every night as you sleep. You know, when you sleep, during the time you're in heavy REM sleep and right before human death, your brain pumps out heavy doses of dimethyltryptamine. Nobody knows what sleep is all about. And nobody knows what dreaming is important, why dreaming is important, but dreaming is hugely important. If you don't dream, you'll go fucking crazy and you'll die.
Think for yourself. Question authority.
It's a human neurotransmitter. It exists in every single one of us, and yet it's one of the most illegal substances in the world. It's more illegal than heroin. It's just as illegal as it's the most illegal substance you could possibly get. Yet it exists in almost every ecosystem.
Think for yourself. Question authority.
All our thoughts on psychedelics are all based on bullshit propaganda that we heard about people, you know, going crazy or losing their minds on. You're not going to go crazy. You're going to go fucking insane. All right, all that stuff is going to remove your ego, and it's going to explain to you what the world is really all about, and cut all the surface areas of...
What is the world really about?
We're bacteria. There's fucking complex geometric patterns moving in synchronous order through the air, all around you, in three-dimensional space, and it's like they're arteries, except there's not blood pumping through them. There's fucking lights, pulsating lights with no boundaries, and you can't really understand it. And there's an alien communicating with you. And there's a dude who looks like sort of like a Thai Buddha, except he's made entirely of energy, and there's no like outline to him. He's just one thing, and he's concentrating on it. And he's trying to tell me not to give in to astonishment. Just relax and try to experience it. Because it's just insane, because there's like a beat. And there's all these fucking complex patterns moving around. And this guy's looking at me in the eye, and I am fucking freaking out. And while you're dreaming, while you're in heavy REM sleep, you are going through a psychedelic trip. And very few people know about this. The pineal gland that produces it literally is your third eye. In reptiles, it actually has a retina, a cornea, and a lens. If you fly into LA, all right, you're going over those mountains, man, you see these beautiful fields and shit, and then all of a sudden you see LA. If you looked at the Earth as a living organism, you would look at LA and you go, that's fucking cancer. Well, I think that it's our purpose. Much like how yeast makes bread rise or a mold takes over a fucking sandwich. I think that's what people do. I think we're just a very complicated form. We're just very complicated form of bacteria. And all our thoughts on ourselves, it's all just biological tricks to keep your ego alive, to keep your biology alive, to make sure you keep perpetuating this fucking thing.
All institutions attain a certain momentum toward the preservation of their own vested interests. And science, and the handmaiden of science, which is modern technocratic government, have created a number of cultural institutions that have a friction with the reemergence of the spirit. First and foremost is the notion of the public. The public is this weird idea that was generated in the wake of the printing press, that there were vast numbers of people who could be treated atomistically. They didn't have to be thought of as individuals. They could be thought of as various classes, masses of people to be manipulated. And if you could sell the public on the idea of democracy, which is another one of these atomistic notions. The notion of democracy is that for us all to get together and have it work, we have to assume that we're all alike, see? So we each have a vote, and then you may be tall, you may be short, you may be rich, you may be poor, you may be black, you may be white, but that doesn't matter. We'll give everybody this charge, one vote, and then we'll see how these populations work themselves out. What they don't tell you is that at the same time that you build this definition of the citizen, you also build the institutions which subvert the citizen. So the citizen is not free to act out and express the wishes of the citizen. The citizen is a consumer of ideological models that are sold to the citizen through agencies of mass propaganda. So there's this peculiar playing off of one against the other. In the meantime, what has also been happening is the institutions of language, which previously were pretty much left to develop on their own, and that was the situation well into the 19th century. Through the power of the printing press, the evolution of language also became something under the control of these institutions, and they very quickly have replaced whatever reality may have been impinging into the lives of the citizens with concepts. Concepts replace reality. You come into the world with a blank slate, and everything is what William James called a blooming, buzzing confusion. Well, then one by one you isolate phenomena in this confusion and you name it. Once a sector of reality has been named, it stays still. It ceases to behave the way it would behave for itself. It begins to behave syntactically because it has been changed into a linguistic object. When things behave syntactically, they are either subjects or objects, or the syntactical machinery which relates these two together. In that case, materialism, dualism, projection of authenticity beyond the self are all reinforced. So these are the factors which have impeded the spirit. Into this comes the psychedelic experience. It has a tremendous force to revivify the spirit, particularly because it is not an ideology. It is not something someone figured out. It is an experience. And this is important to bear in mind. It horrifies me, I'm sure you've heard me say it, to think of someone going from birth to the grave without ever coming tangential to the psychedelic experience. It's like going from the birth to the grave without ever discovering sex. It means that you died as a pre-adolescent. You know, you never really came into your birthright. And we have been infantilized by our cultural institutions to accept the notion of ourselves as citizens, consuming these regurgitated scientific models, which are then hashed through by Madison Avenue and then handed down to us by the organs of mass culture. And this is supposed to be what we anchor our lives on. It's no wonder that drug abuse, child abuse, self-abuse is rampant in this society, because it all has been taken away from us. You may read 1984 and think, well, thank God it isn't that bad yet. Well, the only difference between us and 1984 is we dress better.